Hello, hello, and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are doing well. Today, I have another true crime ASMR series video for you to enjoy. In today's video, we will be breaking down the case of Lindsay Buziak. Lindsay Buziak, on February 2nd, 2008, was a 24-year-old girl who was a realtor from Canada. She was unfortunately murdered while showing a house to eager home buyers. Lindsay was an up-and-coming real estate agent that was hoping to have the sale of her life. She was showing a home that was nearly $1 million in the suburb of Saint. Although there would be no sale, only the finding of Rebecca stabbed over a dozen times in the upstairs bedroom of a vacant home. So, as always, I will be adding this video to my True Crime ASMR series playlist. This is where you can find past and future videos in this series. I do apologize for the lack of uploads for this spooky month. We'll have a ramble about all of that probably in the next week or so. So, without ado, let's stop rambling, get into this case. Lindsay Elizabeth Buziak was born on November 2nd, 1983. She was born to Jeff and Evelyn Buziak. Lindsay had one sister named Sarah. Lindsay was an ambitious 24-year-old real estate agent. In 2008, she had made a promising start to her career and was described by her family and friends as popular and caring. At the time, Lindsay was dating Jason Zalo. He was from a prominent and wealthy family that owned a successful real estate business. In late January 2008, Buziak received a call from a woman. She said that she and her husband were urgently seeking a home with a budget of $1 million. The caller was reported to have had a foreign accent and offered what was later determined to be a fake name. Unnerved by the nature of the call, Buziak asked the caller how she had gotten her personal phone number, as she was a relatively junior employee. The caller claimed that one of Buziak's previous clients had referred her. Buziak saw this as a huge opportunity to expand her career and officially bring her to the next level in real estate. Buziak told her boyfriend Zalo and her father about the call, very obviously excited. This was a very life-changing deal. Zalo encouraged Buziak to meet with the client because of the high commission that she would earn from the sale of the home. To reassure her, Zalo offered to wait outside the property in his car in case anything should happen. Buziak found a suitable property for the buyer and arranged an appointment with the client to view the home at 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, February 2nd, 2008. Buziak and Zalo ate a late lunch at a restaurant paying the bill at 4:24 p.m. They then departed separately in their own vehicles. It is believed that Buziak returned home to change her clothes before the viewing. Zalo traveled to an auto repair shop to pick up a colleague, although he was running late. CCTV footage from the auto shop showed him leaving with a colleague at 5:30 p.m., which is when she would be showing the home. Zalo and Buziak had exchanged several text messages, and Buziak was aware that Zalo would be late. The street upon which the house is located, De Souza Place, is a small cul-de-sac containing 4 houses. Number 1702 is at the outer end of the cul-de-sac on the intersection of De Souza Place and a main thoroughfare, Torquay Drive. The side of the property and the fence of the back garden run parallel to the drive. Although the caller had told Buziak that she would come alone to the viewing, a man and a woman were there. At 5:30 p.m., 2 witnesses saw a 6-foot-tall white man with dark hair and a blonde-haired woman between 35 and 45 years of age, wearing a distinctively patterned dress. Walking up the cul-de-sac, the witnesses saw Buziak greet and shake hands with the couple. The manner that she had addressed them led witnesses to believe that she did not know them. Buziak and the couple then entered the house, and Zalo and his colleague arrived at the cul-de-sac at about 5:40 p.m. As they were driving to the property, Zalo saw a figure through the glass of the front door. He parked outside the property for about 10 minutes and then drove to another street to wait. He said that he did this because he didn't want to seem nosy or like an interfering boyfriend, because he is from a prominent real estate family. After waiting another 10 minutes, at 5:38 p.m., Zalo texted his girlfriend to tell her he was just a couple of minutes away, but she would never open the message. 3 minutes later, investigators said her BlackBerry made an outgoing call. Authorities believe it was a pocket dial made as Lindsay was being murdered, since her BlackBerry was later discovered in her pocket. After 20 minutes had passed since Zalo had arrived and seen the couple go back into the house, Zalo went to the front door and found it locked. When he tried to open it, through the mottled glass on the front door, he saw Buziak's shoes in the entrance hall, but there was no sign of movement and no one answered his repeated knocks at the door. So he dialed 911. While Zalo was on the phone with the operator, his colleague found a gap in the fence in the back garden. He entered the garden and saw that the back patio door was wide open. He called Zalo over, who told the operator the 2 men were entering the house. At this point, Zalo didn't really suspect anything. It was weird that she wasn't coming to the door, but he was able to get inside, so he ended his phone to the police. Zalo's colleague passed through the main level of the house to unlock the front door in order to let in Zalo, who immediately ran upstairs and found Buziak lying in a pool of blood in the master bedroom. At this point, they would call 911 again to report the murder. Jason would attempt to give Buziak CPR, but upon the touch of her skin, he determined that she had already passed away. Buziak was pronounced dead when the paramedics arrived. She had been stabbed more than 40 times. There were no defensive wounds, indicating that it was likely that she had first been stabbed from behind and had no indication of what was about to happen. None of Buziak's possessions had been stolen, and she had not been sexually assaulted. Zalo and his colleague were taken into custody, but were released without charge after their version of events was verified, and the time-stamped surveillance footage from the auto shop proved that they could not have committed the murder. According to the Sanic Police Department, Zalo had been interviewed several times over the years, always being cooperative and passing a polygraph test, which we all know that this isn't just because you pass a polygraph test. There are many ways that you can pass it and still be suspected. You can still be guilty even if you pass the polygraph. So, investigators believe that the mysterious couple who had arranged to meet with Lindsay at the home may be responsible for her death. No kidding. They also stated they could have been hired killers, but tracking them down has not been easy. Because the crime scene yielded no DNA fingerprints or any other physical evidence, it is believed that the murder was well organized and executed by people who had killed before. The police believe that the killers were leaving through the front door when Zalo first arrived, and then fled through the back door, leaving the back patio door open and passing through the fence into their vehicle, which was on Torquay Drive. This scenario is consistent with the witnesses' statements that the unknown couple were walking, not driving, up to the home. So they had parked their car a couple blocks away and then walked to the house, which I'm not saying that this is her fault, but it is very bizarre that someone who is able to have $1 million, they're able to buy $1 million home, but they're not driving to the house. Which Buziak, I think, was just so excited about this being that big moment in her career. She was so desperate to become this amazing realtor. I mean, she's with Jason Zalo, who is a high-profile realtor. Her expectations for herself are high, and I think that excitement just really clouded her judgment. Witnesses in the neighborhood described the female prospective buyer as Caucasian, between 35 and 40, short blonde hair, and a distinctive black and white dress with either red or pink on it. The male has been described as a well-dressed Caucasian man, approximately 6 foot, with dark, possibly brown hair. Lindsay told her father, Jeff, that the couple had spoken English with an accent, but there was something unusual about it, describing it as kind of Spanish, but not really. Police were able to determine that the couple had called Lindsay using a burner phone that had been purchased at a Vancouver convenience store between 3 to 6 weeks before the murder. But the phone, which had been registered to a fake name, had only been activated less than 48 hours before the stabbing. Zalo's family were investigated because of their connections with the cul-de-sac. De Souza Court is named after developer Joe De Souza. He was a friend and business associate of Shirley Zalo, who was Jason's mother. Part of the cul-de-sac was still under construction at the time of the murder, and De Souza was at the location an hour before the murder, supervising the construction work. There were also few forensic clues left behind, since the vacant home had been cleaned just before the showing. With not much to go on, investigators turned to the men in Lindsay's life. Jeff, Lindsay's dad, told Dateline Secrets Uncovered that Lindsay had been thinking about breaking up with Zalo and had confessed in a tearful visit to him just 6 weeks before her death that she had made a mistake. But Zalo insisted they had been happy and maintained that he had nothing to do with his girlfriend's death. He would state that he loved Lindsay, he thinks about her every day, and that he wants the case to be solved as fast as possible. Police publicly cleared Zalo about a year after her death, after finding nothing that could connect them to the crime. So the only person that really had a first-hand account of Lindsay's last night alive is her boyfriend, Jason. He was able to provide police with a timeline of her evening up until when the encounter with the home buyers occurred. So he has the before and after, and police say the evidence supports Jason Zalo's version of events. Now, I am curious to see what his family thought of his girlfriend, because something's a little squatchy there, but Zalo had been cleared. Lindsay's father says he's got some questions for Zalo, though. Zalo had gone on to tell investigators that when he first parked near the house, they had actually seen the couple. They had noticed his car parked and they had turned right around and went back into the house. Jason said that he assumed this meant that the showing had just started and had went a couple blocks away, fearing that he was interfering with Lindsay's big sale. Lindsay Buziak's father is still skeptical of Jason. He questions why he didn't think the couple trying to leave was weird. Also, how did Jason know to just run straight to the master bedroom? And that's not all, he's saying. Lindsay's dad, who was living more than 600 miles away, says that his daughter was really thinking about leaving Zalo. Jeff went on to say that she felt Jason was overbearing and demanding and jealous and just really possessive. And she had told her father all of this just 6 weeks before she was killed. Sergeant Horsley, who was the lead of investigators who were investigating her murder, said they had exhausted all ways to tie Jason to the murder. The forensic evidence timeline of communications, witness testimony, and video surveillance had given them no reason to suspect him as the killer. Jason even passing a polygraph, we care less about that. So, the question is, who killed Lindsay? The one thing both Lindsay's father and police definitely agree on is that this was no random killing. Police in Greater Victoria have interviewed hundreds of people, followed up nearly 1,000 leads, But who carried out the savage stabbing of Lindsay Buziak remains a mystery. In the immediate aftermath of the murder, police focused their efforts on identifying the couple that set up the open house where Lindsay was killed. The couple had left no evidence in the form of DNA or fingerprints that investigators could use to identify them. The only source of identification was eyewitness accounts of what the couple looked like. Police even went to the lengths of identifying the dress the woman wore, which was a commonly sold dress by many department stores. One of the things making it so hard to find the couple, or any suspects at all, is the fact that no one can definitely say why anyone would want Lindsay dead in the first place. Investigators were struggling to find anyone who would want her dead. Police do have some strong theories, though. One of them tied to a trip Lindsay made to Calgary around the same time that she was going to see her father in December. Apparently, while Lindsay was in Calgary, she reached out to an old acquaintance from Victoria. There had been several large drug busts in the area leading up to her murder. And this friend is linked to several gangs that had been busted during this time. It was later disclosed that this friend was her ex-boyfriend. So I think it's safe to say that Lindsay was ready to kick Jason Zalo to the curb, but I digress. What they do know is that the person she contacted was a family member of a man named Erickson Delacazar, and that shortly after Lindsay went back to Victoria, Delacazar, along with 13 other people, were caught in the biggest drug bust in the history of the province. Sergeant Horsley would say, "What we can say is that people lost a lot of money, and the people that lost the drugs know that someone snitched." So there was a witch hunt that occurred where people were being questioned, people were being pulled out of their beds in the middle of the night and asked, "Who have you spoken to?" Because they know someone said something. Now the question arises, was that person Lindsay? This is one of the working theories investigators have made. Later, in 2008, Nikki, a close friend of Buziak, claimed that she had been awakened by a telephone call in the middle of the night from an unknown number. She did not remember much of what the female caller had said, but she noticed that the caller had a strange accent that she could not place. She became scared when she remembered that Buziak had reported that her unidentified client and possible murderer spoke with an odd accent. After the phone call, Nikki called the originating phone number 20 or 30 times until the call was answered by none other than Shirley Zalo. Shirley is Jason Zalo's mom. Nikki asked Zalo why she had called her and how she had her number, as they did not know each other. Zalo replied that she had intended to call her secretary, also named Nikki, and that she did not know why the other Nikki's number was in her contact list. She presumed that her son Jason must have added it to her phone. Shirley would later deny that this event ever occurred, and it has not been publicly revealed whether Nikki's claim was investigated by authorities. Lindsay's father, Jeff, has not given up hope on finding justice for his daughter, and has his own theories. He's not saying outright, but on his website, lindsaybuziakmurder.com, he and others regularly share their theories, often calling out individuals by name and demanding they step forward. His efforts do often put him at odds with authorities. Sergeant Horsley says really what it's become is a modern-day witch hunt, which he seems to love that word. And it's just an internet witch hunt. He goes on to say it's an ongoing issue, and whether it affects the potential trial down the road, he doesn't know. He's had discussions with Mr. Buziak because it is potential that it could impact their successful prosecution. But Jeff Buziak and his family vow to keep up the fight. In February each year, Buziak's father, Jeff, leads an annual walk in remembrance of her and to keep her cause in the public eye. In 2020, the Capital Daily requested a release of public records relating to the case and reported previously unpublished information. The documents revealed that police had been aware of 2 phones used by the suspects. One with a Vancouver number, only used to contact Buziak, and another used to check the voicemail of the first phone. The information also revealed that there had been unusual internet activity associated with Buziak before her murder, and that police initially suspected that violent criminals on her Facebook friends list may have played a role in the murder. In February 2021, Sanic police announced that advancements in DNA analysis and other technology had created new leads in the case. However, there have been no updates since then, and it seems increasingly bleak that the case will ever be solved. Alright, so that is today's video. There's a lot going on here. I'd love to hear your theories. I do think the possibilities are endless for what could have happened. I would like to have seen the phone call to Nikki from Jason Zalo's mom be more investigated. Just seems a little bizarre. I do think that his family should have been more investigated, but that was not, there wasn't a lot disclosed about his family and their thoughts of his girlfriend, which I think is a little bizarre. But anyway, it makes me question their involvement. It does make me question whether she was more involved with his ex-boyfriend that was related to gangs, and even her own involvement with drugs. I mean, most of the time if you have friends that do drugs, then usually you do too. Toxicologies and drug tests done on her body after her death showed nothing in her system, so maybe not, but why was she even involved with these people? Was Jason involved in drugs? Like, I definitely feel like these are 2 pieces of the puzzle that definitely somehow fit together. Something just seems a little fishy here. But I would love to hear your theories in the comments below. If you have any recommendations for future videos, leave a comment below for that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, spooky.